Welcome to a journey through the annals of aerial warfare. Today, we're not just looking at fast planes or famous planes. We're diving into the Hall of Fame of fighter aircraft, where lethality reigns supreme. We're talking about the deadliest planes ever to grace the skies, judged by the most brutal metric of all: kill ratio. From the dawn of dogfights to the age of stealth, these are the machines that pilots feared, the ones that dominated their eras, and the ones that racked up a prolonged number of kills compared to their losses. Prepare to be amazed, and perhaps a little terrified, as we count down the top 10 most lethal aircraft in history. A biplane? On a list of the deadliest fighters of all time? It sounds impossible. The Gloucester Gladiator was the last biplane fighter ever used by Britain's Royal Air Force. It first flew in 1934, an era when designers all over the world were already perfecting the monoplanes, the Spitfires, the Hurricanes, and the Bf-109s that would come to define World War II. By the time war broke out in 1939, the Gladiator was a fossil. It was a cloth and wire antique in a world of all-metal killers. Its top speed was a sluggish 257 miles per hour, nearly 100 miles per hour slower than the enemies it would soon face. It was armed with just 4.303 caliber machine guns, a rifle caliber weapon that was barely adequate. On paper, sending a pilot up in a Gladiator against a modern Messerschmitt was a death sentence, and in many theaters it was. But this aircraft makes our list for a very specific reason. In 3 separate, desperate conflicts, in the hands of pilots with nothing left to lose, the obsolete Gloucester Gladiator achieved one of the most staggering kill ratios of the entire war. This is the story of the ultimate underdog. To understand the Gladiator, you must understand the mindset of the 1930s. Aviation was still enchanted by the dogfights of the Great War. The prevailing wisdom at the British Air Ministry was that future air combat would be a knife fight in a phone booth, a swirling melee where maneuverability was king, speed was secondary. The Gloucester Aircraft Company, which had a long history of building biplanes, perfected this philosophy. The Gladiator was the pinnacle of biplane design. It was the first RAF fighter to feature a fully enclosed cockpit, a small mercy for pilots flying in the cold. It was powered by a reliable 840 horsepower Bristol Mercury radial engine, and its defining characteristic? An incredibly low wing loading. This is a technical term, but it's the Gladiator's lethal secret. Wing loading is the total weight of the plane divided by the total area of its wings. Because the Gladiator had 2 massive sets of wings, its wing loading was incredibly light. This meant it had a phenomenal climb rate at low altitude, and most importantly, a turning circle that a heavy, high-speed monoplane could only dream of. The Gladiator could spin on a dime. It could reverse its direction in a heartbeat, getting its 4 guns onto an enemy that had just flashed past, long before the enemy pilot even knew what was happening. It was a delicate, acrobatic, and beautiful machine. And in 1937 it was sent to frontline squadrons, just as the Hurricane and Spitfire were beginning their first prototype flights. The Gladiator was, in effect, a knight in shining armor, armed with a sword, arriving on a battlefield that was about to be dominated by the machine gun. The Gladiator was quickly pulled from frontline service in Britain, replaced by the superior monoplanes. It was relegated to forgotten fronts and secondary duties. And it was in these forgotten corners of the war that it built its incredible legacy. Its first test came not with the RAF, but with the Finnish Air Force during the brutal 1939 Winter War against the Soviet Union. Finland, outnumbered and outgunned, was desperate for any weapon it could get. They acquired a small number of Gladiators from the UK. What followed was a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. The Soviet Air Force was flying thousands of Polikarpov I-15 biplanes and I-16 monoplanes. The Finns were a tiny professional force. Finnish pilots, flying in -40-degree temperatures, used the Gladiator's one true advantage: its agility. They refused to fight the faster 116s in a dive or a straight-line race. Instead, they would lure the Soviet pilots into a turning dogfight, a Kurvenkampf. Once in the turn, the Soviet monoplanes, with their higher wing loading, were helpless. The Gladiators would simply get inside their turn, stick to their tails, and pepper them with their 4 machine guns until they fell from the sky. The results were astonishing. During the short, violent Winter War, the Finnish Gloucester Gladiators are credited with 45 confirmed victories, for the loss of only 12 aircraft. And not all of those losses were to enemy fighters. This represents a kill ratio of nearly 4 to 1. In the hands of specific aces, the numbers were even higher. One unit, Lentolayevu 26, claimed 17 kills for only 1 loss in Gladiators. It was a stunning display. This obsolete biplane was dominating the skies. But the Gladiator's most famous story was yet to come. In 1940, it would be responsible for the air defense of one of the most critical, besieged islands in the world, Malta. When Italy declared war on the Allies in June 1940, the island of Malta, a critical British stronghold in the Mediterranean, was completely defenseless. The RAF's Hurricanes had been diverted to the Battle of Britain. All the island had were a few Gladiators still in crates that had been left on a naval air station. RAF technicians scrambled to assemble what they could. The legend says they assembled only 3. They were nicknamed Faith, Hope, and Charity. For 10 desperate days, these 3 biplanes were the entire air defense of Malta. Flown by a handful of heroic pilots, they scrambled time and time again to intercept waves of superior Italian bombers and their fighter escorts. The story is one of the great epics of the war. The Italian pilots, flying faster Mach-E C-200 and Fiat CR-42 fighters, were baffled. They couldn't shake the Gladiators. The British pilots used their biplanes' agility, cloud cover, and the island's anti-aircraft fire to create a swirling, chaotic defense. They would dive through bomber formations, break them up, and then engage the fighters, turning so tightly that the Italian pilots couldn't get a firing solution. In just over 2 weeks, this tiny flight of biplanes, fighting against hundreds of enemy aircraft, was credited with destroying or damaging over 30 Italian aircraft, for the loss of just 1 Gladiator in the air. The story of faith, hope, and charity, though in reality they were more than 3 planes rotated into service, became a massive propaganda victory. It electrified the Allies and humiliated the Italian Air Force. It proved once again that the machine was only half the story. The pilot was the other half. We must be honest. The Gladiator's story is one of specific, brilliant victories, not of sustained dominance. When it fought on other fronts, like in Norway with No. 263 Squadron, it fought bravely, but was ultimately overwhelmed. When it finally came face-to-face with the best of the Luftwaffe, the Bf-109E, the fight was no longer a fair one. The 109 was too fast, too well armed, and its pilots employed boom and zoom tactics, refusing to get into a turning fight where the Gladiator had its only advantage. The Gladiator was the last of the knights. It was an aircraft born of a dead philosophy, a relic of a bygone era. But it has earned its place in the Hall of Fame, because in the frozen skies over Finland and the sun-baked skies over Malta, this obsolete biplane achieved a kill ratio that pilots in far superior machines would envy. It is the ultimate proof that lethality isn't just about technology. It's about courage, skill, and fighting on your own terms. It is the last and one of the deadliest of the great biplane warriors. From the last biplane, we leap into an entirely new era of aviation. We move to a machine that was not an underdog, but a predator. A plane so radical, so advanced, and so terrifyingly different that the enemy had no answer for it. When Luftwaffe pilots first saw its strange twin-boom silhouette, they nicknamed it Der Gabelschwanz Teufel, the fork-tailed devil. The Japanese, with a mix of fear and awe, called it two planes, one pilot. Our number 9 deadliest fighter of all time was a masterpiece of innovation, a long-range executioner that carried America's two greatest aces to their unmatched records. This is the Lockheed P-38 Lightning. The Lockheed P-38 Lightning was a plane of profound contradictions. It was a heavy twin-engine fighter in an age dominated by light single-engine dogfighters. It was a revolutionary success in one theater of war and a near-total failure in another. It was complex, demanding, and in the hands of the right pilot, it was one of the most lethal weapons in the Allied arsenal. Its place on this list is secured almost entirely by its performance in one half of the world, the Pacific. In the vast, unforgiving expanses of the Pacific Theater, the P-38 was the perfect weapon at the perfect time. It was in these skies that it racked up a kill ratio that dwarfed many of its more famous contemporaries, with some squadrons achieving a staggering 10-to-1 ratio against their Japanese adversaries. This is the story of how a brilliant, flawed, and futuristic design became the ultimate Pacific predator. The P-38 story begins in 1937. The United States Army Air Corps, watching storm clouds gather over Europe and Asia, was in a panic. They needed a quantum leap in technology. They issued Circular Proposal 10608, a set of requirements for a new interceptor that was so demanding most manufacturers considered it impossible. The Air Corps wanted a top speed of 360 miles per hour at 20,000 feet, and the ability to climb to that altitude in just 6 minutes. At Lockheed, a young, brilliant engineer named Clarence Kelly Johnson, the man who would later create the SR-71 Blackbird, did the math. He realized there was no single engine in existence that could meet these demands. The only way to do it was with two engines. Kelly Johnson's solution was one of the most radical and iconic designs in aviation history. He would place the pilot and all the armament in a central nacelle, and then mount the engines, landing gear, and turbo superchargers in two separate slender booms that extended back to form the tail. The result was the Lockheed Model 22. It was sleek, it was powerful, and it looked like something out of a science fiction serial. The P-38 was not just a new plane. It was a collection of brand new, unproven technologies, all bolted together for the first time. First, it had two liquid-cooled Allison V1710 engines with counter-rotating propellers. This eliminated engine torque, creating an incredibly stable, smooth-flying gun platform. Second, each engine was equipped with a General Electric turbo supercharger. These were essentially jet turbines, spun by the engine's exhaust, that forced compressed air into the engine at high altitude. Where fighters like the Spitfire and Bf-109 grew asthmatic above 30,000 feet, the P-38's turbos gave it more power, allowing it to maintain its speed and climb rate all the way up to its service ceiling of 44,000 feet. To Japanese pilots, whose A6M0 fighters were nearly useless at that altitude, the P-38 was an uncatchable phantom. But the P-38's deadliest feature was its armament. Fighters like the Spitfire and Mustang had their guns in the wings, harmonized to converge at a single point. The P-38's twin-boom design left the entire nose section free. Johnson packed it with a terrifying concentration of firepower. 4.50 caliber Browning machine guns and one 20mm Hispano cannon. The result was a dense parallel stream of high explosive and armor-piercing shells that flew straight as a laser beam for 1,000 yards or more. There was no convergence point. There was only a cone of death. Anything that flew into the P-38's gun sight at any range was not just hit, it was shredded. When the P-38 first entered combat in the Pacific, it was a revelation. The primary Japanese fighter, the Mitsubishi A6M0, was built for low-speed turning dogfights. The P-38 was its polar opposite. It was a heavy 400-mile-per-hour energy fighter. American pilots, having learned the hard way not to turn with a Zero, developed boom and zoom tactics. The P-38 would dive at over 500 miles per hour, its quiet, turbo-muffled engines giving little warning. The Japanese pilot's first indication of an attack would be his own aircraft disintegrating from the P-38's cannon fire. Before the Zero's wingmen could even react, the P-38 would use its immense speed to pull up and climb straight back to 30,000 feet, where the Zeros couldn't follow. It was a cold, systematic, and brutally effective form of execution. The P-38 was also the only American fighter with the range to be effective in the Pacific. This range, combined with its devastating firepower, made it the only plane capable of one of the most famous missions of the war, the assassination of Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of the Powell Harbor attack. This incredible performance is why the P-38 produced America's two greatest aces of all time. Major Richard Dick Bong with 40 victories, and Major Thomas Tommy McGuire with 38 victories. Both flew the P-38 exclusively. For all its success in the Pacific, the P-38 was a near-total failure in Europe. In the frigid, high-altitude skies over Germany, its complex Allison engines were prone to failures. Worse, the P-38 had a fatal design flaw: compressibility. In a high-speed dive, the air flowing over its thick wings would approach the speed of sound, making the controls lock up. German pilots in their Bf-109s and FW-190s learned this quickly. They would simply nose over into a dive to escape, knowing the P-38 couldn't follow. But a weapon's deadliness is defined by its success, not its failures. In the theater where it was designed to fight, a long-range, high-altitude war, the P-38 Lightning was an unparalleled killing. Its high-altitude performance, devastating nose-mounted armament, and incredible range allowed it to dominate its Japanese foes, achieving a kill ratio that secures its place as one of the deadliest fighters of all time. From the specialized fork-tailed Devil, we leap forward into the modern age. We move from an era of specialization to an era of versatility. Our number 8 deadliest fighter isn't a thoroughbred built for a single purpose. It's a workhorse. It's a jack of all trades that, through sheer excellence in design and technology, also became a master of one: air-to-air combat. This aircraft has served as the backbone of U.S. naval aviation for over 3 decades, flying in every major conflict from the 1980s to today. Its kill ratio is perfect, but its numbers are low. Why? Because for 30 years, few enemies have had the courage to even try to fight it. Our number 8 deadliest fighter of all time is the McDonnell Douglas FA-18 Hornet. The FA-18 Hornet is a paradox. Its very name tells you everything you need to know. F/A stands for fighter/attack. It was the first aircraft to be designated as such from the very beginning. It was designed to be a compromise. a single airframe that could replace two dedicated aircraft, the F-4 Phantom for the fighter intercept mission, and the A-7 Corsair II for the ground attack mission. In military aviation, compromise is almost always a dirty word. But the Hornet is the one shining exception to that rule. It is the jack of all trades that also happens to be a world-class duelist. It has flown thousands of combat missions, from the skies over Libya and Iraq to the mountains of Afghanistan and the coast of Syria. In all that time, in over 3 decades of service, the FA-18 Hornet and its successor, the Super Hornet, have a confirmed air-to-air combat record of 8 victories and 0 losses. But that perfect record is only half the story. The Hornet's true lethality isn't just in its kill count. It's in its ability to hunt, fight, and return from the most hostile environments on Earth. The Hornet's origins trace back to the 1970s with the Fighter Mafia, a group of reformers championing a new generation of small, cheap, highly maneuverable aircraft. This concept led to the lightweight fighter competition, which pitted the General Dynamics YF-16 against the Northrop YF-17. The Air Force chose the YF-16, which would become the legendary F-16 Fighting Falcon. The YF-17, with its distinctive twin-engine, twin-tail design, had lost. It was an orphan. But the U.S. Navy had been watching. The Navy also wanted a new multi-role fighter, but the F-16 single engine was a non-starter. For a naval pilot flying over hundreds of miles of cold, empty ocean, a single-engine failure is a death sentence. They looked at the losing YF-17 prototype and saw potential. They contracted McDonnell Douglas to transform the YF-17 into a rugged, carrier-capable, multi-role warplane. The result was the FA-18 Hornet. The Hornet was not the first fly-by-wire aircraft. The F-16 was, but it perfected the concept for naval aviation. Fly-by-wire means the pilot's controls are not physically connected to the control surfaces. Instead, the pilot's stick sends a digital signal to a bank of flight computers. This unlocked the airframe. The FA-18 is intentionally designed to be aerodynamically unstable. If its computers were turned off, it would instantly tumble out of the sky. This instability is its greatest weapon. Because it wants to tumble, the computers merely prevent it from doing so, allowing the pilot to perform maneuvers that are physically impossible in a conventional plane. The Hornet's angle of attack, or AOA, is legendary. A Hornet pilot can point the plane's nose as much as 40 degrees up from its direction of travel, keeping its weapons locked on an enemy who has long since flashed past. This incredible agility is paired with a revolutionary glass cockpit and the concept of sensor fusion. A Hornet pilot doesn't have to think about flying the plane. The computers handle that. He is free to do one job: be a hunter. The Hornet's combat debut was on the opening night of Operation Desert Storm in 1991, and it cemented the Hornet's legacy forever. On January 17, 1991, a flight of FA-18Cs from the carrier USS Saratoga was flying a bombing mission. They were loaded with heavy bombs. Suddenly, their radars lit up. 2 Iraqi MiG-21s were climbing to intercept them. In any other aircraft, this would be a moment of panic. The pilots would have to jettison their valuable bombs. But the Hornet pilots didn't. Pilots Grizz and Mongo simply flipped a switch. The cockpit displays instantly changed from air-to-ground mode to air-to-air mode. While still carrying their full 2,000-pound bomb load, the 2 Hornets engaged the Iraqi interceptors. In a swirling, low-altitude dogfight that lasted less than 90 seconds, Grizz and Mongo shot down both MiG-21s with Sidewinder missiles. Then, without missing a beat, they flipped the switch back to air-to-ground mode, proceeded to their target, and dropped all of their bombs, destroying it. It was a staggering, historic demonstration. They had successfully completed a fighter and an attack mission on the same sortie. This versatility is its lethality. The enemy can never know what a Hornet's mission is. Engaging them is a roll of the dice because they are always ready to fight. The original Legacy Hornet was later upgraded to the FA-18EF Super Hornet. It is 20% larger, carries 33% more internal fuel, and has a significantly reduced radar cross-section, making it semi-stealthy. Most importantly, it carries the APG-79 AESA radar, one of the most advanced and powerful radars in the world. The Hornet's perfect 8-to-0 kill ratio, including a 2017 kill of a Syrian Su-22, is a testament to its design. But its real kill ratio is unwritten. It's the thousands of enemy pilots who, upon seeing a flight of FA-18s on their scope, have chosen to turn and run rather than face a machine that can outfly, outsense, and outfight almost anything in the sky. The Hornet's lethality is not just perfection, it is deterrence. From the reliable workhorse of the Navy, we now move to its older brother, the Thoroughbred. This aircraft is perhaps the most recognizable fighter jet on Earth. It was the star of the silver screen, the symbol of American naval power, and the poster child for a generation. But its Hollywood fame is just a tiny part of its story. Long before it was a movie star, it was designed as the single most advanced and lethal air defense weapon ever conceived. It wasn't a dogfighter. It was a long-range sniper, a fleet killer, built to wipe out entire bomber formations from 100 miles away. And in a brutal, forgotten war, in the hands of an enemy-turned-ally, it proved to be one of the most prolific killers of the jet age. Our number 7 deadliest fighter of all time is the king of the Cold War. This is the Grumman F-14 Tomcat. The F-14 Tomcat was a machine built from a single terrifying nightmare. A swarm of Soviet Tu-22M backfire bombers approaching a U.S. aircraft carrier battle group, unleashing a wave of nuclear-tipped, long-range anti-ship missiles. The Navy's F-4 Phantoms couldn't stop this threat. The Navy turned to the legendary Grumman Iron Works, the company that had built the F-6F Hellcat. The requirement was simple: build a new aircraft from scratch, but build it around the most powerful radar and missile system ever conceived. The Tomcat's lethality was not just in its airframe. It was in a 3-part system so advanced, it was decades ahead of its time. First was the Hughes AWG-9 radar. This was the most powerful and sophisticated radar ever installed in a fighter. It was a massive 2,000-pound pulse Doppler system that could look down and shoot down, tracking low-flying targets against the clutter of the ocean. It could track 24 separate targets at once, at ranges exceeding 150 miles. Second was the AIM-54 Phoenix missile. This was not a missile. It was a self-guided kamikaze aircraft. Weighing 1,000 pounds, it was a Mach 5 monster with its own active radar. The F-14 was the only aircraft in the world capable of carrying it. This system allowed a single Tomcat to launch 6 Phoenix missiles at 6 different targets simultaneously, from over 100 miles away. Third was the Radar Intercept Officer, RIO. The F-14 was a 2-seat aircraft. The pilot in the front flew the plane. The RIO in the back ran the battle. This division of labor was a massive cognitive advantage, allowing the F-14 crew to manage a complex multi-target battle that would have overwhelmed any single pilot. But Grumman knew that a one-trick pony wouldn't survive. What if an enemy fighter slipped past the Phoenix missiles? The F-14 also had to be a dogfighter. This is where its most iconic feature comes in. the variable sweep wings. These wings were controlled by a computer. For high-speed supersonic intercepts, the wings would sweep back to 68 degrees. For a swirling close-range dogfight, the wings would sweep forward to 20 degrees, giving the 70,000-pound behemoth the agility of a much smaller fighter. In United States service, the F-14 was a victim of its own success. Its entire combat record in U.S. hands consists of just 5 confirmed air-to-air victories over Libya, all of them perfect, flawless kills. But this perfect, tiny record is not why the F-14 is on this list. Its true, staggering lethality was proven in a different, far bloodier war, by an air force that America would soon call its enemy. In the 1970s, the Shah of Iran bought 79 of America's F-14 Tomcats. When Iraq invaded Iran in 1980, these Tomcats were Iran's only hope against a massive, modern Iraqi air force. What followed was one of the most lopsided and secret aerial campaigns in history. A handful of Iranian F-14s, many of them kept flying by cannibalizing parts, were put into the air. They didn't use the Tomcats as dogfighters. They used them as airborne command and control platforms. A single F-14 would patrol the border, using its godlike AWG-9 radar to monitor the entire Iraqi front. When a wolf pack of Iraqi fighters crossed the border, the F-14 crew would engage them from 70, 80, or 100 miles away with Phoenix missiles. The Iraqi pilots were terrified. They were flying at 20,000 feet in clear skies and would simply explode. They never saw the F-14. They never got a missile warning. To them, the Tomcat was a mythic, invisible monster. The kill claims are staggering. While exact numbers are classified, the most conservative and rigorously researched estimates credit the Iranian F-14 with over 160 confirmed victories during the war, for the loss of only 12 to 16 Tomcats. This includes multiple multi-kill sorties, where a single F-14 shot down 3 or 4 Iraqi aircraft on a single flight. This record, a kill ratio of at least 10 to 1, achieved against a modern, well-equipped air force, is what proves the Tomcat's lethality. It was a complex, expensive, and difficult-to-maintain thoroughbred. It was retired from U.S. service undefeated, a true king that dominated the skies from the moment it was born. From the ultimate missile-age sniper, we now rewind the clock. We go back to the dawn of the jet age, a time before long-range missiles, before beyond visual range combat, when lethality was measured by 6.50 caliber machine guns and a pilot's skill. We go to a place nicknamed Mig Alley, where the world witnessed the first large-scale jet-on-jet combat in history. It was a brutal crucible where skill, speed, and raw courage defined who lived and who died. In that cauldron, one aircraft emerged as the undisputed king, piloted by a generation of veterans who had just mastered the skies of World War II. Our number 6 deadliest fighter of all time is the elegant, deadly, and utterly dominant North American F-86 Sabre. The F-86 Sabre is an icon of aviation history, a graceful blend of art and engineering that ushered in the supersonic age. Its place on this list is cemented by its performance in the Korean War. Here, it faced the Soviet-designed MiG-15, a formidable adversary. Against the MiG-15, the F-86 Sabre achieved an astonishing kill ratio of approximately 10 to 1. For every 10 MiGs shot down, only 1 Sabre was lost. This is the story of how the F-86, through a combination of cutting-edge technology and human skill, secured absolute air superiority in the first true jet war. The F-86's story begins with captured German research. In 1944, Allied forces discovered German data on swept wings. A straight wing, like on a P-51, encounters immense drag at the sound barrier. By sweeping the wing backward, a plane can delay that drag and fly much faster. North American Aviation, which had designed the P-51, immediately grasped this. They re-engineered their new straight-wing jet, the FJ-1 Fury, with swept wings. The result was the XP-86, which first flew in 1947 and quickly broke Mach 1 in a dive. The F-86 was a near-perfect balance of speed, maneuverability, and firepower. Its 35-degree swept wings gave it a top speed of over 670 miles per hour, while the MiG-15 could climb faster and had a higher ceiling. The F-86 was faster in a dive, allowing it to escape any fight it didn't like. Its control surfaces were fully power-boosted by hydraulic systems. At high speeds, the air pressure on control surfaces can make them impossibly stiff. The Saber's hydraulics gave the pilot the strength of a Superman, allowing for crisp, precise maneuvers even at near transonic speeds. This was a major advantage over the MiG-15, which had manual controls that stiffened up. But the F-86's truly secret weapon was the AN/APG-30 radar gun sight. This small, simple radar in the nose of the F-86 would ping the target and automatically calculate its range and closing speed. This data was then fed to the gun sight, which would project a continuously updated pipper, a dot, on the pilot's windscreen. All the pilot had to do was put that pipper on the enemy aircraft and fire. The system automatically compensated for gravity, bullet drop, and lead. It transformed gunnery from an art into a science. When the Soviet-supplied MiG-15 first appeared in Korea, it was a shock. It was faster and climbed better than any UN fighter. But in December 1950, the first F-86 Sabres arrived. The balance of power immediately shifted. MiG Alley became the proving ground. Here, F-86 pilots, many of them World War II veterans, faced off against highly trained Chinese, North Korean, and covert Soviet pilots. The tactics were simple but effective. Boom and zoom. F-86s would use their superior diving speed to attack MiGs from above and behind, fire a burst, and then use their speed to escape. The radar gun sight was key. The F-86 pilot could get a firing solution faster and more accurately than a MiG pilot, who still had to manually estimate lead and range. The result was devastating for the enemy. Out of the 40 American fighter aces of the Korean War, 39 flew the F-86 Sabre. The overall kill ratio against the MiG-15 was truly phenomenal. While official UN records claimed a ratio as high as 14-1, more conservative post-Cold War analysis, taking into account Soviet records, still puts the F-86's confirmed air-to-air kills over MiG-15s at around 792, for the loss of 78 Sabres to enemy fighters. This still yields a kill ratio of approximately 10-1. It was a staggering victory for a single aircraft type. The F-86 Sabre was the ultimate expression of the gunfighter in the early jet age. For its unmatched dominance in the first jet-on-jet conflict, the North American F-86 Sabre rightfully takes its place as one of the deadliest fighters of all time. From the graceful jet duelists of Korea, we now return to the largest conflict in human history, World War II. But we are not just looking at a successful fighter. We are looking at a statistical anomaly. An aircraft so dominant, so perfectly designed for its one brutal purpose, that it achieved the single highest kill ratio of any major fighter in the history of warfare. This was not an elegant duelist, It was not a nimble acrobat. It was a purpose-built executioner. It was a heavy, armored, and overwhelmingly powerful machine designed to do one job: sweep the skies clean of the enemy. It was nicknamed the Ace Maker, and it was the beast that broke the back of the Japanese Imperial Navy. Our number 5 deadliest fighter of all time, with a staggering 19-to-1 kill ratio, is the Grumman F-6F Hellcat. To understand the Hellcat, you must first understand the terror of 1942. The United States was reeling from Pearl Harbor. In the Pacific, the Japanese Mitsubishi A6M0 was a mythic monster. It was lighter, more agile, and had a better climb rate than any Allied fighter. It was untouchable. The U.S. Navy was desperate for an answer, and they got it from a company in Bethpage, New York, known as the Grumman Iron Works. Grumman, led by the legendary Leroy Grumman, did something simple but profound. They listened. They took the combat reports from their F-4F Wildcat pilots, who were fighting for their lives against the Zero, and built a new fighter specifically to counter every single one of the Zero's advantages. The Wildcat pilots said they needed more power, more speed, a better climb rate, better armor, and more ammunition. What Grumman designed was not a better Zero. They designed a Zero killer. The F-6F Hellcat was the first Allied fighter designed after the lessons of Pearl Harbor had been learned. The Hellcat was, in a word, a beast. It was a massive, imposing airframe built around the single most powerful naval aircraft engine in the world, the Pratt & Whitney R2800 Double Wasp. This 18-cylinder, 2,000 horsepower radial engine was the heart of the Hellcat's lethality. Where the Zero was a lightweight scalpel, the Hellcat was a supercharged sledgehammer. This engine gave the F-6F phenomenal speed, climb rate, and high-altitude performance. This power was paired with durability. This is the Grumman Iron Works philosophy. The Hellcat was built like a tank. The pilot sat in an armored bathtub of 212 pounds of steel plate. It had a bulletproof windscreen, and most critically, self-sealing fuel tanks. This meant that while a few hits would turn the fragile, unarmored Zero into a fireball, a Hellcat could absorb astonishing amounts of 20mm and 37mm cannon fire and still bring its pilot home. This survivability was a weapon in itself. It gave American pilots a second chance that Japanese pilots never got. The Hellcat's armament was simple, reliable, and overwhelming. 6.50 caliber Browning M2 machine guns, 3 in each wing, with 400 rounds per gun. This was a shotgun blast of lead that could shred the lightweight Japanese airframes in seconds. But the Hellcat's strategic secret was its design for ease of use. The F-4F Wildcat had narrow hand-cranked landing gear, which was notoriously difficult to land on a carrier. The Hellcat was given wide-set hydraulic landing gear that was incredibly stable and forgiving. This was a stroke of genius. It meant that the U.S. Navy could take thousands of 180-day wonders, rookie pilots rushed through training, and put them in a machine that was easy to fly, easy to land, and almost impossible to kill. The Hellcat entered service in August 1943. American pilots did not try to get into a low-speed turning dogfight with the Zero. They used boom and zoom energy fighting tactics. A Hellcat flight would use its powerful R2800 engine to climb above the Japanese, dive at blistering speed, fire a devastating burst from its 650s, and then use its immense engine power to climb straight back up, where the anemic Zeros couldn't follow. This new reality reached its terrifying climax in June of 1944 at the Battle of the Philippine Sea. The Japanese Navy, in a last desperate gamble, launched its entire carrier-based air fleet, over 400 aircraft, to destroy the American carriers. What they met was a wall of F-6F Hellcats. American radar picked up the incoming Japanese armada from over 100 miles away. The Hellcats scrambled to intercept. The battle that followed was not a battle, it was a massacre. It has been known ever since as the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. In a single day, U.S. Navy pilots, overwhelmingly flying F-6F Hellcats, shot down over 350 Japanese aircraft. American losses in air-to-air combat? 20. The battle completely and utterly annihilated Japanese naval aviation. The numbers behind the Hellcat's service are difficult to comprehend. In just 2 years of combat, F-6F Hellcats claimed 5,223 enemy aircraft destroyed. And the cost? Only 270 Hellcats were lost in air-to-air combat. The math is staggering. 5,163 kills in the Pacific for 270 losses. This is a confirmed kill ratio of 19.1 to 1. No other fighter in history has come close to this level of dominance. It produced 305 aces, more than any other fighter in the U.S. arsenal. It was the perfect weapon, an industrial-strength ace maker that systematically erased an enemy's air force from the sky. From the undisputed king of the naval war, we now move to the plane that won the other half of World War II. This is not a blunt instrument, it is a thoroughbred. A high-altitude duelist with the grace of a Spitfire, the punch of a heavyweight, and the legs of a marathon runner. It was the little friend that saved the American bombing campaign, broke the back of the Luftwaffe, and secured the skies over Europe. Our number 4 deadliest fighter of all time, with a stunning 11-to-1 kill ratio, is the North American P-51 Mustang. The story of the P-51 Mustang is one of the greatest ironies of World War II. In 1943, the U.S. Army Air Forces were in a state of catastrophic crisis. Their strategy of self-defending B-17 and B-24 bombers was a bloody failure. On raids deep into Germany, like the infamous Schweinfurt-Regensburg mission, they were losing 60, 70, 80 bombers in a single day. The problem was range. No Allied fighter, not the Spitfire, not the P-47, not the P-38, could fly far enough to protect the bombers all the way to their targets and back. The answer to this American crisis was an aircraft the Americans had never even asked for. It was a fighter they had initially rejected, a plane built in a desperate 120-day sprint for the British Royal Air Force. In 1940, the British Purchasing Commission came to North American Aviation, NAA, asking them to license build the Curtiss P-40 Warhawk. The brilliant president of NAA, Dutch Kindleberger, famously scoffed. He said, "We can build you a better one in the same amount of time." The British, desperate, agreed. In an almost unbelievable feat of engineering, Kindleberger's team, led by designer Edgar Schmood, designed and built the prototype NA-73X in just 120 days. This new plane was a revolution in aerodynamics. Its crowning achievement was the laminar flow wing. This was an advanced, thin wing shape designed to dramatically reduce drag, allowing for incredible speed, and more importantly, fuel efficiency. The British loved the airframe and called it the Mustang 1, but it had a fatal flaw. Its Allison engine was asthmatic at high altitude. Above 15,000 feet, its performance dropped off a cliff. The Mustang was a brilliant airframe shackled to the wrong engine. The Mustang's entire legacy is the result of one of the most transformative what-ifs in military history. A Rolls-Royce test pilot, after flying the Mustang I, suggested they try putting his engine into it. His engine was the Rolls-Royce Merlin 60 series. This was the high-altitude marvel that powered the Spitfire. Its secret was a two-stage, two-speed supercharger. This Merlin marriage was a revelation. The Allison-powered Mustang topped out around 390 miles per hour. The Merlin-powered P-51B, flying at 30,000 feet, was suddenly doing 440 miles per hour. It was, overnight, the fastest fighter in the world at high altitude. The Packard Motor Company in the U.S. began mass-producing the Merlin under license. This new, high-speed, high-altitude monster was then given 6.50 caliber machine guns and, most critically, massive internal fuel tanks. The result? A fighter that could climb to 40,000 feet, outrun and outfight anything the Luftwaffe had, and fly for over 1,600 miles. It could fly from London to Berlin, dogfight for 30 minutes, and fly all the way back. The problem of the bomber escorts was solved. The P-51D, the definitive version with its bubble canopy for 360-degree vision, arrived in Europe in force in early 1944. Its effect was immediate and catastrophic for the Luftwaffe. German pilots in their FW-190s and Bf-109s had grown accustomed to a safe zone. They would wait until the short-range Allied fighters had to turn back for fuel, and then they would descend on the helpless bombers. Suddenly, in the skies over Berlin, they were being ambushed. The little friends were no longer turning back. This tactical change was supercharged by a new strategic order from the commander of the 8th Air Force, General Jimmy Doolittle. He reversed the old defensive-minded order that fighters must stick to the bombers. His new order was revolutionary: go hunting. Doolittle unleashed the Mustangs. He ordered them to fly ahead of the bombers, to sweep the skies, to find the German airfields, and to destroy the Luftwaffe wherever it could be found. This was a declaration of total war. The P-51s were no longer just escorts. They were hunters. The kill ratios soared. P-51 pilots began racking up victories by the handful. They were systematically wiping the Luftwaffe from the sky. In the air and on the ground, the P-51 is credited with destroying 4,950 enemy aircraft in the European theater alone. For this, 448 Mustangs were lost in air-to-air combat. The math is simple: a kill ratio of 11 to 1. This was achieved not by fighting over friendly territory, but by flying hundreds of miles into the heart of the Reich, day after day, and seeking out the enemy. By D-Day, June 6, 1944, the P-51's mission was complete. The Luftwaffe was a shattered, broken force. The Allies achieved total air supremacy over the beaches of Normandy, a fact that was perhaps the single most important factor in the invasion's success. The P-51 Mustang had not just won dogfights. It had enabled the entire strategic bombing campaign, which in turn crippled Germany's industry. When German General Adolf Galland was asked what he knew of the P-51, he famously said, "I knew it was the end." The P-51 Mustang was the perfect synthesis of British and American ingenuity. It was a high-altitude duelist with the range of a bomber, and it was the scalpel that cut the heart out of the German Air Force, securing its number 4 spot as one of the deadliest and most important fighters of all time. From the piston engine king of World War II, we now rocket forward to the modern era. We come to an aircraft that is, quite simply, the most successful and widely used jet fighter on the planet. There are over 4,600 of them. It is the backbone of the U.S. Air Force and 24 Allied nations. You might think that a plane this common, this much of a workhorse, would have a mixed record. You would be wrong. This aircraft has flown in hundreds of combat operations. It has been in the thick of the fighting in the Middle East, the Balkans, and South Asia. And in all that time, in over 40 years of service, it has amassed a confirmed air-to-air combat record of 76 victories and 0 losses. It is not a heavy interceptor. It is a lightweight, razor-sharp 9G pulling duelist. It is the Ferrari of the skies. Our number 3 deadliest fighter of all time is the General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon. The F-16 story is the story of a revolution. It was born from a bitter philosophical war waged within the Pentagon itself, a rebellion against the heavy, complex, and expensive failures of the Vietnam era. The fighter mafia, led by theorist Colonel John Boyd, argued that the U.S. needed to get away from heavy missile trucks. Boyd's energy maneuverability theory proved that the most important factor in a dogfight was the ability of a fighter to gain or lose energy, altitude, and speed faster than its opponent. The fighter mafia didn't want another missile truck. They wanted a modern-day P-51. They wanted a pure, simple, lightweight, point-and-shoot dogfighter. General Dynamics, building on Boyd's theories, designed the YF-16. It was built to be the most agile, energetic, and lethal dogfighter the world had ever seen. Its pilots don't call it the Fighting Falcon. They call it the Viper. Its lethality comes from a fusion of 3 revolutionary concepts. First, and most importantly, it was the first production fighter to be aerodynamically unstable. This is the F-16's deepest secret. Every plane you've ever seen is stable. It wants to fly straight and level. The F-16 is the opposite. It wants to tumble out of the sky at all times. It is only able to fly because it was the first production fly-by-wire aircraft. The pilot's stick isn't connected to the wings. It's a digital controller that sends a signal to a bank of flight computers. These computers make thousands of micro-adjustments per second, just to keep the plane flying straight. This instability is its greatest strength. A stable plane has to fight its own stability to turn. The F-16 can snap into a 9G turn almost instantaneously. Second, it was built around the pilot. The F-16 cockpit has a 360-degree bubble canopy with no bow frame in front of the pilot. He has perfect unobstructed vision. It has a 30-degree reclined seat, increasing the pilot's G tolerance and preventing him from blacking out. And it has a side stick controller, allowing the pilot to make precise movements even while being crushed by 9 times the force of gravity. Third, it has a monstrous engine. The F-16 is powered by a single Pratt & Whitney F-100 engine, the same powerful engine used in the much heavier twin-engine F-15. The result is a thrust-to-weight ratio greater than 1:1. A combat-loaded F-16 can point its nose at the sky and accelerate while climbing vertically. This combination created the perfect dogfighter. The F-16's trial by fire came with the Israeli Air Force in the 1982 Lebanon War. On June 9, 1982, in Operation Mole Cricket 19, the IAF went to war against the Syrian Air Force in the Bekaa Valley. In one of the largest jet-on-jet air battles in history, the Israeli F-16s were devastating. They were the knife fighters. In that single brutal day, the IAF shot down over 80 Syrian aircraft. The F-16s were credited with 44 of those kills. The cost to the Israeli F-16? 0. This was not a fluke. The story repeated itself. The Pakistani Air Force flew F-16s against Soviet and Afghan intruders, shooting down at least 10 enemy aircraft with 0 F-16s lost. The U.S. Air Force shot down Serbian MiGs over the Balkans. Turkish F-16s have shot down Syrian aircraft. The tally just kept climbing. As of today, the F-16's air-to-air record stands at 76 confirmed kills, for 0 air-to-air losses. It has, of course, been shot down by sophisticated surface-to-air missiles, SAMs, and ground fire. That is the danger of its bomb truck role. But in a one-on-one duel, in a pure fighter-versus-fighter engagement, the F-16 has never been defeated. It is the single most produced fourth-generation fighter on Earth for a reason. It is a jack-of-all-trades that just so happens to be an undefeated master of one, the dogfight. Its perfect 76-0 kill ratio makes it, pound for pound, one of the deadliest fighters ever to take to the skies. From the undefeated people's champion, we now take a leap, not into the past, but into the future. We are no longer talking about dogfighters. We are talking about an aircraft that makes the very concept of a dogfight obsolete. This is not a fighter jet. This is a ghost. It is a machine so advanced, so dominant, and so completely invisible that it has fundamentally broken the kill chain. Its official air-to-air kill ratio is 1-0. But that single kill, a Chinese spy balloon, is a misleading footnote. Its real kill ratio is found in combat exercises, where it has killed over 100 of the fourth-generation fighters we've just discussed, for 0 losses. This is the most expensive, most complex, and most lethal air superiority fighter ever built. It is the definition of air dominance. Our number 2 deadliest fighter of all time is the Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor. The F-22 Raptor's story begins in the 1980s. The F-15 Eagle was king, but the U.S. Air Force was looking over its shoulder. The Soviet Union was rolling out a new generation of terrifyingly capable fighters, the Sukhoi Su-27 Flanker and the MiG-29 Fulcrum, which in some scenarios could outmaneuver their American counterparts. The Air Force launched the Advanced Tactical Fighter, ATF, program, a competition to build a 5th-generation fighter. The requirements were pure science fiction. The new fighter had to combine stealth, agility, dominance, and supercruise, the ability to fly supersonic without using its fuel-guzzling afterburner. In 1991, the Air Force chose Lockheed's YF-22 design. The Raptor was born. The F-22 is not just an upgrade, it is a fundamental shift in aerial warfare. Its lethality is a 4-part equation. 1. VLO, very low observable. Stealth. This is the Raptor's primary weapon. It is not invisible. It is designed to have a radar cross-section, RCS, the size of a steel marble. Where an F-15 might appear on an enemy radar as a barn door from 150 miles away, the F-22 appears from perhaps 10 or 15 miles away. This breaks the combat equation. The F-22's powerful APG-77 AESA radar can see that F-15 from 150 miles. The F-22 can launch its AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles from 50 miles or more. The F-15 pilot, staring at a blank radar screen, has no idea he is even in a fight. His first and only warning is when a missile he never saw, from a plane he cannot detect, detonates and destroys his aircraft. 2. Supercruise. Every fourth-generation fighter must use its afterburner to go supersonic, burning its entire fuel load in a matter of minutes. The F-22's 2 Pratt & Whitney F-19 engines are so powerful that they can push the Raptor to Mach 1.5 without afterburner. This means the F-20TC can sprint for its entire mission. It fights at a speed and altitude its opponents cannot reach or sustain. 3. Sensor fusion. The F-22 is not so much flown as it is managed. The pilot is a battle manager. In an F-15, the pilot has to manually fuse data from his radar, his RWR, and AWACS in his head. In the F-22, the central computers take all data and fuse it into a single God's eye view tactical display. The pilot doesn't have to think about where the enemy is. The plane tells him. 4. Thrust vectoring agility. If an enemy somehow survives the stealth attack and gets close, the F-22 has a final, physics-defying trump card. Its two engine nozzles can move up and down independently, a technology called 2D thrust vectoring. This allows the F-22 to point its nose in directions other than where the plane is going, performing post-stall maneuvers that would rip the wings off a normal jet. This is what makes the F-22 so difficult to rank. It is, by all accounts, the deadliest fighter ever built, but its combat record is almost non-existent. Why? Because it is a victim of its own success. In countless Red Flag and Northern Edge war games, the F-22's dominance is legendary. In its first Red Flag exercise, a handful of F-22s achieved a 108-0 kill ratio against F-15 and F-16. One F-22 pilot described the experience as clubbing baby seals. Its combat debut came in 2014 over Syria, but it wasn't used as a fighter. It was used as a quarterback. The F-22s would fly high over the most dangerous SAM-infested areas, completely invisible to Syrian and Russian radars. They would use their godlike sensors to sniff out enemy threats, and then data link that targeting information to fourth-generation planes. The F-22 was winning the air war without ever firing a shot. Its only official kill came on February 4, 2023, when an F-22 destroyed a high-altitude Chinese surveillance balloon. This gives the F-22 Raptor a perfect, if slightly comical, 1-0 kill ratio. The F-22's lethality is not measured in kills. It is measured in deterrence. Its production was capped at just 187 aircraft. It was simply too good. It is the apex predator of the skies. It wins the fight before the enemy even knows they are in one. We have finally arrived. We have climbed the ladder of lethality. We've seen the biplane underdogs, the piston engine legends, the jet-age duelists, and the invisible ghosts of the fifth generation. Each one a master of its era. But there is one aircraft that stands above them all. It is not a ghost. It is not a jack of all trades. It is not a compromise. It is a thoroughbred. An aircraft designed, forged, and built for one single, solitary, and uncompromising purpose: air superiority. For nearly 50 years, this machine has been the undisputed king of the skies. It has flown in every major conflict, in the most hostile airspace on the planet. It has faced down every fighter the Soviet Union and its allies could build. And in 5 decades of service, it has amassed an air-to-air combat record that is not just dominant, it is perfect. 104 victories, 0 losses. Our #1 deadliest fighter of all time. The undefeated, undisputed, and eternal champion of the skies is the McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle. The story of the F-15 Eagle is the story of a lesson learned in blood. The Vietnam War had been a humiliating shock for the U.S. Air Force. Their F-4 Phantoms were being outfought by smaller, nimbler, cannon-armed MiG-21s. In 1967, the world was stunned by the debut of the Soviet MiG-25 Foxbat. This was a massive stainless steel interceptor that could fly at Mach 3. It was a boogeyman. In response, the Air Force launched Fighter Experimental, or FX. The requirement was simple and absolute: build a fighter that could defeat any threat. The winning design from McDonnell Douglas, the F-15, was built around a single legendary motto that defined its entire existence: not a pound for air to ground. This was revolutionary. The F-15 would have no bombing computers, no ground attack radar modes, no compromises. Every ounce of its design would be dedicated to one thing: sweeping the sky clean of the enemy. The F-15 Eagle is not a plane. It is a statement. It is a masterpiece of 1970s engineering, a perfect balance of power, technology, and aerodynamics. 1. Raw power. The F-15 was the first fighter in history to have a combat thrust-to-weight ratio greater than 1:1. Its two Pratt & Whitney F-100 engines produce so much power that the F-15 can accelerate while climbing vertically. Pilots in war games would rocket the F-15 to 40,000 feet in under 2 minutes, place it on its tail, and just stand on its engine plumes. 2. The tennis court wing. The F-15 has a massive blended body wing. This huge surface area gives it enormous lift, allowing it to make incredibly tight high-G turns, bleeding less energy than its opponents. It also acts as a massive speed brake, allowing the pilot to force an overshooting enemy to fly out in front. 3. The pilot's cockpit. The F-15 was one of the first aircraft with a glass cockpit and a hands-on throttle and stick (HOTAS) system. The pilot never has to take his hands off the controls. Every critical function, radar, weapon selection, countermeasures, is on a button or switch on the stick and throttle. 4. The APG-63 radar. This was the F-15's crown jewel. It was the first truly effective look-down, shoot-down pulse Doppler radar in a fighter. In Vietnam, if a MiG-21 flew at treetop level, an F-4's radar would lose it in the ground clutter. The F-15's radar could filter all that clutter out. It could track a low-flew enemy at high speed from over 100 miles away. This combination of power, agility, and technology created a fighter with no weaknesses. The F-15's combat record is not just a statistic. It is a legend. The plane's baptism by fire came with the Israeli Air Force, IAF. In 1982's Operation Mole Cricket 19, the F-15s were the snipers. They flew a high-altitude top cover, using their powerful radars to identify and target Syrian MiGs from beyond visual range, firing AIM-7 Sparrow missiles. As the Syrian formations broke apart in panic, the F-16 Vipers would dive in to finish them off. In that single air battle, the F-15s were credited with 40 kills, 0 losses. The legend only grew. In 1991, Operation Desert Storm, F-15 Sea Eagles flew 24/7 combat air patrols, establishing a wall of eagles that the Iraqi Air Force could not penetrate. F-15s were responsible for 34 of the 37 confirmed air-to-air victories of the war. They shot down MiG-29s, MiG-25s, MiG-23s, and Mirage F-1s. The total air-to-air losses for the F-15, 0. In 1999, Operation Allied Force, F-15Cs from the U.S. Air Force engaged Serbian MiG-29s. The result was the same. 6 Serbian MiGs destroyed, 0 F-15 lost. The Royal Saudi Air Force used their F-15 to shoot down 2 Iranian F-4 Phantoms. You add it all up, 104 confirmed air-to-air victories and 0 air-to-air losses. This record is an outlier in the history of warfare. No other frontline weapon system, on land, at sea, or in the air, has maintained such a perfect and dominant record for so long. The F-15's lethality is so absolute that it has inspired one of the most incredible stories in aviation, the one-winged eagle. In 1983, an Israeli F-15 pilot, Zivi Nadivi, collided with an A-4 Skyhawk. The collision sheared off his entire right wing. By all laws of physics, the plane should have been lost. But the F-15's blended body design created just enough lift, and its two massive engines had enough raw thrust that the pilot was able to regain control. He flew the wingless airframe by using full afterburner, landing at over 300 miles per hour. A plane so over-engineered, so powerful, that it doesn't even need all of its wings to fly. That is the F-15 Eagle. The F-22 Raptor may be the ghost of the future, but the F-15 Eagle is the eternal champion. It is the pinnacle of fourth-generation design, a perfect balance of power and technology, and the most lethal, dominant, and successful fighter aircraft in the history of human flight. From the biplane to the stealth jet, from the Gloster Gladiator to the F-15 Eagle, this is the Hall of Fame. These are the 10 deadliest fighters of all time, the machines that defined air power, and the legends that will echo in the skies forever.